opening moves on cyber attacks. So it's very popular, and it must be so popular because it works. We're going to talk about how to catch a fish, or how to basically determine if the email you're looking at is a phishing email or not. We're going to take a look at some personalized phishing attacks. Phishing started out years ago as being a little bit like spamming, and we'd send out hundreds or thousands or millions of emails hoping that we'd get a reasonably decent return, around 3%, which is typical return on advertising type messages. And we've gotten into an environment where there's a lot more um, reconnaissance that goes on before, more planning that we to try to identify individual targets in organizations. So it's moved from a sort of a spammy group event into something a little bit more personalized. There's a really wonderful exploit. Well, I don't know how wonderful it is, but a great example of a very well done phishing exploit here that used Wells Fargo branding. And we're going to take a look at that. We'll look at some other phishing examples. And then we're going to talk about how to detect and prevent phishing using VirusTotal and other techniques. So moving along here. Um, why so many phishing attacks? Well, sort of works like this. So phishing scams keep working. And here we have, 3 people from the popular strip Dilbert. And, 2 out of 3 recognize it's a scam, but the pointy-haired boss, of course, enters a bank account number and gives away their bank ID, bank account number. The inbox is the attack point. This is the #1 crime by number of victims, according to the FBI's IC3 report for 2020. So this is last year. And 241,342 victims, and $54 million in reported financial losses from phishing type attacks, and that's just reported losses. We can assume that there's at least as many unreported losses, maybe more. 90 to 95% of exploits start as a phishing email, and on average, there are 5 or more phishing emails that per employee every day. And based on the number of phishing emails that end up in my inbox, I would have to concur that's a reasonably fair number. But there are dozens and dozens of phishing emails that are sent to me in and above the 5 that make it into my inbox, that are captured by the different the different email filtering technologies that I have deployed um, against my email account. So 5 get through a fairly tight net. We're going to take a look at email account hijacking. Uh, the FBI calls it a BEC attack, a business email compromise. I like to call it email account hijacking, but this is a very targeted attack against usually a highly placed individual, a CEO or CFO or other C-level employee, or a very highly placed manager in organizations. This is the #1 crime in terms of victim financial losses. So we were looking at phishing as a number of victims, highest. This is the one with the highest financial losses, and typically email account hijacking or business email compromise starts as a phishing email as well. This is from the same FBI report from last year, or was released actually in the beginning of 2001. We do not have the 2021 numbers yet. They will be out shortly. But in any event, it's $360 million in reported losses in 2016, compared with 1.8 billion in just a 4-year span in 2020. So how does phishing work? Typically, there are two techniques that we'll see, or perhaps two and a half. One is to send a email with a malicious link with a questionable link on it. Usually the link is set up to take you to what I call a landing page. A landing page is a web advertising term, but basically, when you click on the link, you land on a website that's designed to represent, hopefully faithfully, the brand that's being taken advantage of here. Usually, click on links will take you to a fake login page where you're asked to give your login credentials and sometimes other personal information. The primary goal here is, credential stealing. It's looking for user ID and password information so they can come back and take over your account. The other technique involves using an email attachment. You opening an attachment will typically install some type of malware like a remote access Trojan horse program, crypto ransomware program, uh, or a banking Trojan horse of some sort. A lot of phishing emails in the last year or so have given up the click on a link for a fake web page and instead send an attachment that's designed to look like a very expensive invoice for, in some cases, $2,000 or $3,000 or more, and has a toll-free number to call for customer service. The way this exploit works is, instead of relying on a web page to trick somebody into entering their credentials, you get them to call a toll-free number, and you have a number of skillful social engineers on the other end of the line who extract information like, in order to reverse charges on this invoice, we need your credit card information, things like that. Um, so here we have an example of a FedEx. Supposedly, one of the things to notice here is that the sender email is got nothing whatsoever to do with FedEx, and so that can be a pretty good tip that this is a fake email. Here we have a link and another link. These would take you, either one of these links would take you to a fake web page. Here we have an attachment. This is an HTML attachment, which generally means it's going to create a web page on your hard drive. I mean, this gets past the need of having to hijack a web server in order to host my web page. The web page is actually hosted internally on the computer of the target, and here we download the attached file and get into some sort of trouble or another. Most of these have come to me personally. Here again, we have a sender email address that is clearly got nothing to do with whatever this message is about. And here we see one of these fake invoice emails from Norton. This is basically $188 for renewing a security product that I clearly don't have. And in this case, it's not even a toll-free number, but a number to call and complain about this fraudulent charge. Now, if you want to complain about fraudulent charges on invoice, especially if it's been charged on a credit card, call your credit card company and deal with them. Calling, calling the organization that generated the false charges is, even if they're, it's a legitimate Norton email, it's not really necessarily going to help you a lot. And it's much, much safer for you to originate the call and make the call to your credit card company in order to dispute the charges. So what's the goal of phishing? Generally speaking, we're looking to trick the recipient into giving up confidential information like a user ID and password. This goes under the name credential harvesting. Other personally identifiable information like your street address, the names of family members, your social security number, your telephone number, things of that nature, or banking, financial, or credit card information, including bank routing numbers and account numbers and so forth. The other goal is to trick the recipient into installing malware to provide system or network access for different types of remote access programs. In the case of, if I can install a remote access Trojan horse in a computer in a business network, I can use that access to that system to launch attacks and to get into other systems on the same network. Or banking malware. There are malware that's specifically designed to notice when you're going online banking and to record your keystrokes, which will get your user ID and password and other information that you may need in order to access your account. Ransomware has become a much bigger problem in the last year and a half or 2 years, and that is another type of malware that comes in embedded in email attachments, and then they may be installing malware in order to basically get confidential, proprietary, or classified information by snooping around a business network and looking for, shall we say, valuable information. All information has value to somebody, and it's just a matter of, finding the information that it is easiest to resell. So, how to catch a fish? Typically, a phishing email has three parts. There's a story. It's usually either some sort of problem with an existing account or in this case, we saw this fake invoice, and the story is, hey, we just automatically charged your card for this amount of money. Or there may be a compelling opportunity. Sometimes the emails are set up to tell, it's maybe something as simple as you won a lottery that you never bought a ticket for, or it may be some other opportunity to, you know, for financial gain or some other sort of happy occurrence. Sometimes the story is designed to frighten you, make you angry, stimulate greed. Typically, the story part of the email is designed to get you emotionally involved in the deception. If you find your um, emotional state being moved or changed by an email, there's a good chance it's a phishing email. Then there'll be some sort of request or call to action. This usually includes, please click on the link or open the attached file. Sometimes it's call the 800 number, but to call the 800 number usually happens after you've seen the fake invoice, although I have seen the invoice embedded in the body of the email. And so it's see and read email and then call toll-free number where we're going to get your information from you. And often there's a penalty for failure to comply. There'll be a threat, an overt threat that, we'll have to suspend or close your account or something on that order. And, or it may be implied in that, this television that you just bought for, Bill Finkelstein of, Indianapolis, in Indianapolis, Indiana is, it's basically the penalty is already there. I've been charged for something that by somebody else. Um, so here are some examples of actual fish that I've caught on my own inbox and a few that were forwarded to me from clients. These examples are here to show you how to identify fish in your own email. I do offer something called the Friday Fish Fry on my blog, on the Wise Guys Cybersecurity blog. And if you type in, search for Friday Fish Fry, you'll see, you know, the latest example and others. And here some are. This one is from a number of years ago. This is from 2014, so it's a little bit older, but we can see that there are some telltale signs. For starters, the sender email is on a Taiwan country code domain name, And unlikely that this attorney firm would have uh, a branch in Taiwan. Not impossible, but unlikely. The link here goes to a website, lilianaRestRepo.info, which has nothing whatsoever to do with Greenwood and attorney laws either. This is basically an email or a website that's been hijacked, and it was used to host the landing pages that went along with this exploit. And there's basically says, view a copy of the court notice, click here. What court notice? I didn't get any court notice. Now you feel the, concern or anger rising. And the penalty part is, if you do not attend the hearing, the judge will hear the case in your absence. Well, if a judge hears the case in your absence, the other side wins. That's the way it works in court. And so very short little notice, but, guaranteed to get you to take some action. Well, maybe not guaranteed, but certainly possible. Now we're going to take a look at some personalized phishing attacks. And we're going to take a longer look at the Wells Fargo identity theft phish. The email domain was hijacked from a Japanese air freight company. So the sender says Wells Fargo Messaging Center, but this would be the actual sender email. It is visible in the email. The clicking on the view your personal Wells Fargo accounts links resolves to this website, segudesign.com, First Group US, and VirusTotal, when given this URL to analyze, identified this as a phishing address. It was redirected to a landing page at BharatVocalForLocal.com, which is a Indian e-commerce website. Looks like they sell clothing, perhaps. So let's take a look at it. Here's the email, and we can see the sender address up here at the top. View your personal Wells Fargo accounts. Well, whoops, excuse me. Will move you to another page. So this email says, we've noticed you have a direct deposit made in your account. Well, that's actually kind of good news. Direct deposit. Somebody sent me money. Well, that was unexpected. Maybe I should go check it out, and click on a link, and then we'll go. Here's VirusTotal results for this URL, Segu Design. We can see that, it's identified as phishing. So after I click on view your personal Wells Fargo account link, the first landing page provides a little bit of a story. Second landing page collects user account credentials. Third landing page collects additional personally identifiable information, including birth date, social security number, and driver's license. Fourth landing page collects credit card information, and the next page is a bounce out to a genuine Wells Fargo login page. The victim website, and then I've got a picture of the victim website that's actually hosting the landing pages to this exploit. So here's, another clue. This should say wellsfargo.com up here, and the address bar, it does not. Now, typically, most of these types of exploits will start right here with a user ID and password, but this one's kind of clever because it basically gives a plausible story for the request. Verification required. We noticed some unusual activity on your Wells Fargo account, are concerned about potential unauthorized account access. Need your help resolving an issue with your Wells Fargo account. Until you help us resolve this issue, we've temporarily limited what you can do with your account. So very nice. We click on the verify link, and we go to another page on this hijacked website. And this is where you enter your user ID and password. So now I have, as the bad guy, as the reported bad guy, I would have your user ID and password and be able to log into your bank account. But banks have gotten kind of tricky and sometimes require additional proofs or information. And so this exploit continues on to get your personal information, your full name, date of birth, billing address, city, state, zip code, and phone number, and too long to fit on the page, but it also asks for your driver's license and social security number as well. This would be something that on the dark web is called a fulls, and typically it can be sold for about $25 per individual. You'd think that'd be enough, but there's actually more. They get your Wells Fargo credit card information as well. So they have done a very good job of clearing the decks, basically, of anything to do with your Wells Fargo account. Finally, they bounce you out to the legitimate Wells Fargo website. And this is one of the things that makes this a very well crafted scam, is that they leave you in a place where you can log in and actually check your account for that direct deposit you're supposed to have. In the meanwhile, you've coughed up all the information that this attacker needs in order to uh, get into your account and do a little banking of their own. And here we have the victim website. This is the website that hosted the those landing pages that we just looked at. So we talked a little bit about VirusTotal, and VirusTotal is a free resource that anyone can use. Google and about 50 or 60 anti-malware and security companies curate this site, and this allows you to check file attachments by direct upload. They used to allow email forwarding. That feature has disappeared recently, but you can also check URLs or web links from emails and see if they are known to be malicious or not. Now, just because you get a clean bill of health on some of this stuff does not necessarily mean that they aren't malicious or are in some way safe. But it is comforting to get confirmed, if you're suspicious, that this is in fact a malicious link or malicious attachment. You can also do advanced search for other malware samples. It's a pretty nifty tool. So this is what VirusTotal looks like. If you're doing, upload and scan a file attachment, you can do that here. Basically, you need to save the file attachment someplace, like your desktop, being careful not to open it. I typically, when I'm researching this stuff, I will launch a virtual machine. I have a copy of Kali Linux running as a virtual machine on my laptop, and I'll do all the poking and prodding and searching and researching in my virtual machine. And that way, if something bad happens, I can just simply delete the virtual machine and reinstall a new one from scratch. Then we have the URL. This is where you would put in your URL or malicious link or your questionable link. And then we have, you can search for URLs, IP addresses, domains, or file hashes for malicious content in order to see if the sample you have matches something that is already in VirusTotal. So this contains a zip file. This is actually an email that would have launched CryptoLocker a number of years ago. This is from 2016, so it's a little older. But this was definitely a CryptoLocker. Why do I know that? Well, a client of mine opened this zip file and got CryptoLocker. It was this same email. And after I fixed his problem, we I went back and I searched for this email, and it had been scooped up in one of my spam filters, but it allowed me to basically, get a copy to share in these presentations. So here we have, dodgy sender email and the attachment. The attachment came up as malicious, frown, Trojan, generic, other types of attachments like that. And here's another one from Western Union, or is it? And the link goes to this site. and this link shows up as a phishing site. Only with one, only on Bitdefender, but one's good enough for me. Here we have a HUD settlement statement. This was sent to a realtor client of mine, and it is designed to look like a closing statement, but actually it installed a malware. And here we have, URL mal fish lemon, so this was turned out to be a malicious attachment. Here we have another example, closing statement PDF, and from a few days later and more. So how do we prevent phishing from happening? The first thing to do is to use spam and phishing filtering solutions. Microsoft Outlook has built-in spam filtering capabilities. I use a online service called Spam Drain. There are many others. If you're running a bigger network, there's things like Barracuda Spam Filter and what have you. And you should be doing something to actively discourage, to actively weed out the amount of spam and phishing emails that you get. You should be suspicious. If you get an email that is verifying a request, especially a request for, sending money by wire transfer or something like that, you should call the sender to verify the request and attachment, even if it's your boss. Better to be safe than sorry. Never click on a link in an email. Type the web address or use a shortcut or bookmark, or better yet, if you get an email from a company you do business with, best thing to do is um, contact them directly using a trusted shortcut or bookmark from your web browser, or calling them on the phone. You can hover or right click on links to reveal destination, and use VirusTotal to check links and attachments. Uh, Cybersecurity awareness training, including simulated phishing testing, is another great solution. And that's it for my presentation. We said we'd leave you some time for questions, and obviously we have. Here's a list of upcoming training events. And if you wouldn't mind, I need to step away for about 2 seconds. I'll be right back, and maybe we can get some questions in the chat.
Hi everyone. By the time Bob comes back, please go ahead and type your questions in the chat box, or else if you want to
There,
discuss with him
I'm sorry.
personally, you can. Yeah, not a problem, Bob. I was just mentioning that till the time you come back, they can write the questions in the chat box,
Mhm.
and you can unmute yourself and you can ask Bob questions. That's not a problem. Please go
Yep.
ahead and do that.
Yeah, I see there's something coming in from from one of the attendees here.
Yes, sure. We will send the recording to all the attendees as soon as we receive it. Any other questions from anyone else? So, guys, have you enjoyed the webinar? How did you find it? Because Bob has, I think Bob has done quite good work, and I find this webinar very useful by myself. Although I'm not into cybersecurity, but after attending this webinar, I think I should take some trainings. I should learn something about cybersecurity because everyone receive these kinds of emails, and I think somewhere in our lives we may get stuck. We may get spammed, I would say.
Yep.
So yeah, I think there is one more question.
Any tool beside VirusTotal you're checked for? I don't have anything else that well, yeah, okay. Troy, I believe it's Troy Hunt, has a website called Have I Been Pwned? Have I Been Pwned or whatever? It's .com. And this is a tool that you can use to determine if databases that your email address is in have been compromised. And maybe we should just take a quick look at it here. Hang on, I just have to get a screen or a browser window rather, and drag it into there we go. Okay, so it's have I been PWN, so it's have I been owned basically in lead speak. And so if we were to put in an email address, and we'll just do mine real quick. And so I have participated through no fault of my own, as many of us have, on 26 data breaches that have found, my email address, that particular email address. And there's a list here. Somebody's got an open mic. We've got some background.
कळालं कोणी आपटलं दार एवढं फालतूगिरी कोणी केली ती
Yeah.
कशी काय आपटली
But in any event, they're yeah. But in any event, that would be the other. Have I been Pwned and VirusTotal, and VirusTotal.com is right here. And that's what we were looking at earlier. Now, I wanted to share just a little thing. This Wells Fargo attack. I teach cybersecurity classes, and I've taught quite a few of the ISC squared's CISSP certification classes, and I get people from all over the United States and frankly from all over the world that attend these classes now that we're doing everything online. And I had a student in one class that worked at Wells Fargo and at the headquarters in South Carolina, and he said this particular email is used in internal company training to let Wells Fargo employees know what kind of emails are out there, under their logo, and to be suspicious of people who are calling in and all of a sudden looking for access, you know. So anyway, training related queries. Is this meeting encrypted? I doubt it. I don't think so. But Gentlemen, is this meeting encrypted?
Yes, it is.
Oh, well, there you go. Never mind. Any other questions? Yeah, Have I Been Pwned is such a great website. I thank you for that, Sean. Yeah, between the two of them, you can set yourself up on Have I Been Pwned, and to get like alerts from the website when there are new breaches that you are part of. I have that capability set up. It's sort of like this, with especially with website breaches, with website database breaches, there's nothing you can do to prevent it. It's on the website owner to secure that information. And, they do a pretty good job most days, but every now and again, you're working with somebody who either doesn't get it or, whatever, or they just get hacked. And there's nothing you can do, nothing whatsoever you can do to prevent it. When you get an alert like that, the one thing you can do is go in to that particular account and change your password. In any case, you should always use multi-factor authentication wherever you can, because that prevents somebody who has just your user ID and password from successfully linking in. So yeah, that's what I can tell you about what I have been, have I been pawned? I see there's another question coming in. Is it Adewale, I believe? I haven't seen anything turn up here yet. Maybe I gotta scroll down. Okay. Any further questions?
I think there are no further questions, Bob.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you so much for your time, and it was really wonderful and very informative webinar. I hope everyone has lots of takeaways from it. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining this meeting. If you have any questions, if you have any training requirements, or if you are, if you want to train your team on cybersecurity or any trainings, so please get back to us on vinsys.com. You can just make an inquiry, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sean said thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for attending. I do have a couple more of these sessions scheduled with Vinsys for the next couple of months. So if you enjoyed this one, keep an eye out for the next couple. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. We will
That,
keep you posted with all the webinar links and
right.
all the emails. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And if anybody wants to reach out and get in touch with me, I am eminently Google searchable. I've got a lot of content on the web, and I'm easy to find. So uh, very good. Yeah, it looks like we've got another message coming.
Yes, Nathan, we can give you certificate of attendance of this webinar. That's not a problem. Just send me an email and it will be done.
Sessions like this should be good for continuing education credits with most certifications, if you've got one that you're looking to fill out.
Of course, Bob. So I think we are good to go today. So
Yeah.
let me go and end this meeting, Bob. Thank you so much
Okay.
and have a good rest of your day.
All
Have a
right.
good rest of your day, everyone. Bye bye.
Yep. Bye bye. Thanks for coming.